Good afternoon to all those who are tuning in with me right now. I just wanted to jump in real quick with a word, and which I'm known to do as I get it, and sometimes when I don't. And so that's why what I need to speak on is very important right now because it's just dealing with that. It's talking about obedience, and I received a word of confirmation. So I said, hey, I need to tap in and then, spread what I have learned and maybe to help somebody, right? So I'm coming to you again about obedience. And so the whole thing to it and how I received it is responding to the unfamiliar but familiar voice. All right, so this comes from John 21, verses 1 through 8. And so just to set it up, this is after God has been resurrected and he was walking the earth. Remember, he walked the earth for 40 days after his death. And he was actually out on the sea. And I'm reading my book. It's always good to refer to book. That's where you get the word. And he was out, on the sea on just watching out and looking towards the waters. There was Simon, Peter, Thomas, Didymus, Nathaniel, and Zebedee, and two other disciples. And they were all fishing, and they were not very successful. And Jesus, who they did not know who he was because he was in a renewed body, they didn't know who he was. And God probably shielded himself too because, it's always a testimony to come with God. He's very mysterious. So even in his mysteriousness, there's more of a mysteriousness to it. So I'm sure it was a lesson even for them later on. But either way, they didn't know who he was. But he called out to them and he said, children, have you any meat? All right. So as I said before, they had been fishing and unsuccessful. And so, they responded to him, no. And he said to them, cast the net on the right side of the ship and you will find it, right? And so, what I think is interesting too about that wordplay is he said, cast the net on the right side, right? And, actually at that time, they had been unsuccessful. There was no net. So he didn't tell them to cast it to the right or the left. He just told them to cast your net on the right side, right? So soon as they were obedient to that voice, they didn't know who he was, but they knew it was something familiar about that voice. But the person didn't look familiar, but the voice sounded familiar, but the person didn't look familiar, right? But they were obedient and they cast their net. And guess what? They drew a multitude of fish. All right? So back to my point. Being responsive to the familiar but unfamiliar voice. And a lot of times, what I'm talking about in this case is God. And I'll just say this quick because I like to do quick videos. But I was reminded today that you never should be concerned about how often you are seen, how often you are seen doing, just to continue to do what you are asked to do. And God will take care of you. He will do it all. And you just want to also remember and know that doubt is a destroyer. So whenever you're in doubt, go to God. Seek him, seek his word, be in prayer. And, if you're like unfamiliar, one of the biggest things I was saying to myself as I was receiving the word is that the things that I'm asked to do, is it something normally that I would say, oh, I want to do that? And, sometimes it's like, yeah, no, I probably wouldn't have thought to do that because I don't really like to be seen on video like that. I don't really, I just don't like, to be out there like that. So no, it's nothing that I would do. So I know that it's from God because it is uplifting his kingdom. So, if you ever need to test or you're trying to figure out, first go to God and pray about it. And then also think to yourself, God, gives a sense is, would I ask myself to normally do that? And if your answer is no, and it's about praising and giving back to God, or if it's about doing something for others, then it's the Holy Spirit speaking to you. So, with that being said, just stay obedient and let God work out the timing of everything. Just do what you need to do and let him do the rest. Yeah. So that's all I wanted to say. Have a wonderful day, and until I see you again. Bye-bye.